What is up, responsible day traders? Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023. I am Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. I really am not enjoying being up this early in the morning, but I'm here with you. Once my son graduated, I decided that I no longer needed to get up before 6:30. But for you, I'm gonna do it. So let's just go ahead and dive right in, guys. First off, it has been wild. My hopes and dreams of it moving to the upside, crushed, gone, forgotten. I did move up just slightly on last Monday and then just dropped to the downside. Let's go ahead and just jump right off into it. First thing that we're gonna do today, guys, is we're just gonna head on over, and before we even look at news, we're gonna talk a little bit about the scholarship that we have coming up, because we do have an RDT scholarship, guys. Okay, so the first thing we wanna do before we go and look at news is we're gonna come over here and talk about applying for the annual scholarship. So if you don't know much about our annual scholarship, we do have this once a year, every October. And what we do here is we want to help those around the world who may not necessarily think that this is a possibility for them. We do have 18 days until the release, but on the 12th, we are finally taking our last bit of applications. So if you want to apply, now is the time to do it. You got 10 days. We're going to be setting up some calls with y'all. And as you look here, this is a $10,000 value. You can see what this is going to include. And you can also see that we're not just doing a VIP scholarship, but we're also doing two for the startup scholarship. Normally the startup scholarship does not come with any homework reviews or anything like that. But for our scholarship students, the RDT startup is going to come with a little bit more than usual. So we're going to start having some interviews on the 13th through the 19th, and then we are going to choose our winners on the 20th. Normally we do a drawing, but we're going to make some intentional choices for these guys. So you can see some of the stuff that we need you to do in order to be a part of this. And if you are looking to join us, then we would love to have you here. So you can go fill it out. Make sure that you fill out this application. Here's some information about where you can go and the next steps that you need to do. If you want to check out the terms and conditions, definitely come and check them out here. One thing that is absolutely important is that you must be 18 years or older. All right, next thing we need to do is we're going to go over to news. So let's go ahead and check out the market news. We do have some news today. So we've got some news 30 minutes after the market opens, and then an hour and a half, Powell speaks. So Powell can get the market moving. So even though this is pushing down right now, we never know what can happen whenever this news comes out. Tuesday, half an hour after the market opens. Wednesday is a pretty busy day. We've got some before the market, 15 minutes after, half an hour after, an hour after. So there's a lot going on Wednesday. Thursday pre-market, Friday pre-market. So as I've said before, you don't have to be out of the market when the news comes out, but you do want to be aware of it. So let's go ahead and move over and see what we got going on. Guys, here is our daily chart. Now, our daily chart has shown this was our last high. This is our last main high that we saw up here. I don't know why I don't have a line at the very top, but we can add one really quick. Boom. So if we look at what's happened here, there's a couple of thought processes for myself going on here. We had a very strong move up. We had a somewhat decent pullback over the last, year or so. And what's happened with this is it wasn't a super strong pull to the downside. You can see if we're looking at the entirety of the move up, this was actually just a little bit of a pullback that happened here. Now, we have made a lower high than we saw of these main highs up here, but we have gotten higher than these last pivots. Now, what we're looking at this moment is we are back below the EMAs. We are back below the zero line. So not until about this point right here did we change the direction to the downside. The direction is down on the daily chart. being back below the EMAs, being back below the zero line. We are starting to see the MACDs get a little bit of lighter pivots, lighter BBs, and we do see a potential for a slowdown, but these reversal bars don't look too promising for the move back to the upside. We'd really have to see these cut inside, start to change colors, and see reasons for them to move back up. Can we see that at some point? Absolutely. We do have another major area of support right down here around 4,200, which, we saw struggles to break through this area. It's not the exact area that we're really concerned with, but we have seen this hold up quite a lot in the past. Is this going to give us a weak movement down to 4,200 and then pop back up? The EMAs are still open to the upside. They haven't crossed over, although they just might. So looking at our 28,657, this is really a good look to a strong move to the downside. So the 28,657 is our next chart that we like to look at to the downside. What happened here? So we had a nice push back below the EMAs, got below the zero line. Everything says more down at this point. But we did make the attempt to move back up. We didn't shift the direction to the upside. We pulled away from the EMAs on this price bar, but we never closed back above that high. And we can see both price and MACDs leading lower here, the EMAs just starting to open back up to the downside after a nice big strong move. I'd really like to see what happens when we get back below this point that happened right here around the 27th. So that would be our next area that we really want to break through. Otherwise, we're looking to get down around the 4,200 area, see what happens then, and if it's going to hold or if it's going to push back up. So right now, everything does say more down, and not just everything. Let's go ahead and pull up our trading charts. Our trading charts are all currently have direction to the downside. We're below all EMAs and we're below all zero lines. So our direction is definitely down. We did make an attempt to move to the upside here. We had that bar that broke out there, got back higher, and we thought for just a moment we might be seeing this move to the upside, but we really struggled to get back above the Bollinger Bands, which does tell us that we had more anticipations of this going down. As this has made a pivot and a push down to the downside, this is a really nice, decent pivot to the downside. MACDs did not agree. They really struggled to move to the downside. So now what we've got going on our trading chart is definitely some divergence between these two pivots. We can see that the price was leading much lower, MACDs are leading higher. Now, it's not going to take a lot of work for this BB to push down and move back to the downside. So we're going to have to wait and watch and see what happens there. But at the same time, if we're looking at our bigger tick chart currently, it does still have strength to the downside in those MACDs, but we are also pre-market. Pre-market, as we know, runs just a little bit different than we've got all the players working and moving this market. So let's break it down. From the 10,946, our direction was to the upside. We did make a nice little attempt to move the direction back up. It really tried. We may have even considered it back to the upside here, but we'd really like to close back above this bar, which didn't happen. We can see we just get somewhat of a flag reversal bar. So it pushed everything back below the EMAs, back below the zero line. This does look like strength below the zero line. As I said, it's pre-market. Things can get a little weird in the pre-market. So we're back below the EMAs, we're back below the zero line, and it does look like strength. Now, there are almost 9,000 ticks left in this 10,000 tick chart. This BB could pull back in very easily, although it doesn't look like it's making the attempt for right now. We do see the attempt to close outside of the Bollinger Bands with strength. So if we're looking at the 1597, we can see we do have that divergence potential, or that divergence that happened and pushed it up just a little bit here. Now we do have an area of support right in here that is only a few points away. So we're going to want to see if it's going to continue with that strength to the downside. And you can see very quickly it's already starting to lose that strength on the 233. So maybe pull back in and pick up that strength and continue to push if this BB stays out strong. So this is something that we're doing on a regular basis as we're going through the charts and seeing what's happening. We're paying attention to what the strength and momentum is saying on our bigger charts, on our 1597, or on our trading chart, and even on our smaller chart. Do we see the possibility for this to continue, or is it telling us that it may not work? So having this little bit of divergence tells us that it might be a little bit difficult, but if we continue to see the strength in the MACDs on the 10946, and we continue to see the strength in the MACDs on the 233, we may see the potential for this particular BB to break through the bottom Bollinger Band and continue down. So having that bit of divergence told us that we were going to have the potential for the pullback, which is just this one bar in the 10946, but it's the opportunity that presents itself when it pulls into the EMA on the 233. So it gave us the opportunity to continue with this move to the downside until it gives us a really clear picture that it's going to die out. So I want to let this run for just a moment so we can kind of watch how this works. I'd really like to see this come to the end of this particular bar, but I may not have time. Ooh, here we go. This is one of the things, this is why I'm paying attention to what all the charts say. We can see it was starting to weaken and pull back in. We'd really want to see it cross that top Bollinger Band, and we'd want to see this BB cross the top Bollinger Band here, coupled with the idea that this BB is going to slow down. Now, we still have close to 6,000 ticks, and we've got a lot of strength still kicking on this BB, so it's really going to have to do some work to slow down and move this BB back towards the previous BB to show us slowdown potential, something that kind of looks like these BBs in here. Otherwise, right now, we're going to continue to see the strength in order for this to push back down. Now, we do see this BB starting to cross that top Bollinger Band. We still have 50 ticks left, so it's getting very, very close to showing that it's going to continue up above that top Bollinger Band. And a lot of times we want to, especially on the 233, pay attention to what that second BB tells us. And that second BB is looking kind of good for the move to the upside, although we are still below the zero line. I like the way that this is making the attempt to break that top Bollinger Band, and you can see the distance between these two BBs is getting closer. Now, this does not say that it's going to shift the entire trend of the market to the upside, but it says that for this point right here, if you were in a short trade at this point, it's telling you that you might want to have gotten out because it has the possibility to pull back towards where your entry was, or even to exceed where the entry was. So I love watching this as it's counting down. There's 957 ticks. This BB is currently outside of the Bollinger Band. Now that could change as this gets closer and closer to close. This is why I absolutely adore the MACDs, because the MACDs are really, these MACD BB dots are the only thing that we see that moves in tune with the price action. It's the only thing we see that doesn't lag. So I really want to just see this one bar count down so we can watch the evolution of this BB as it's happening. And I may even speed this up just a little bit so it's not taking quite a long time. But we're just watching this as this is happening. I love seeing this BB really making the attempt to pull away. But as I said with the 233, it's usually nice to see what that second BB does before we really make a strong conviction of what we think is going to happen at this time. Liking it. So here's that second BB. Now we want to see some distance really with separation in that second BB. What we may see if this stays outside is just a bit of a pullback into here as we're finishing off that momentum to the downside. So we'd want to see if this BB is going to continue outside of the Bollinger Bands and push up, or is it going to pull back in and cross back below that bottom Bollinger Band? We still have the strength, the distance in these BBs to the downside. So we may see it try and finish out that move to the downside here. It's looking kind of good for this to make the attempt back up just slightly. The way that the BB just pulled back small and purple and barely pulled back here. And we can see the strength really attempting to pull away as we're seeing the BB showing more strength and momentum here. You can see this BB here is getting closer and closer to that previous one, which tells us that we've had a bit of a slowdown. Now, we've still got 2,000 ticks left. I just really wanted to watch this one particular bar close to give us just a little more information and see how we can watch what's happening and make those attempts to move with the market, flowing with the market as we're watching what's happening in the immediate move. So these are really trying to pull closer and closer together. They're not quite showing what we'd like to see for a shift. And what we'd like to see is more something along the lines of this, where they're getting closer and closer and closer and showing us the potential to turn. Still have a lot of strength, and it is pre-market, so we've got an hour before the market opens. We've only got about 1,300 ticks left here. May see something kind of like this, where it pulls up just a little bit and moves back down. So it just really depends on your style. Are you looking to make just a couple of quick points? If you're looking to make 2 points, we had plenty of opportunity to pull back into the EMAs whenever we saw that happen here. If you're looking to make a much bigger profit target, like maybe all the way up towards these EMAs, may have not been quite the time just to take that long trade just yet, as we still see a lot of strength to the downside on our 10,946. All right, and you can see it held up right in this area. They're getting a little bit weaker, so it's making the attempt to continue back to the downside, just as we saw right in here. Pulled up, came back down, pulled up, came back down. And with the weaker MACD BBs, we did see this move back to the downside. So we do see the potential for this to continue down a little bit more, as we're seeing, still having 300 ticks left and a lot of strength to the downside. All right, it's getting very close to the end of this bar, and it looks like it's really still trying to push up at this point. Ooh, see what I mean? So look how the distance just got smaller and smaller between these BBs as it was working its way down. This does really, really look like it's attempting to make that move to the upside. So we're going to have to watch and wait and see. But otherwise, guys, that's going to be it. All right, that sun is wild in the morning, and so is this hair. I do have a class in 1 hour, so I'm going to try and get everything I can done for this video before I have a yoga class. So guys, don't forget, we do have the scholarship coming up. If it's something that you think that you are a good candidate for, fill out that application. If you have another friend who you think might be a good candidate, send them the application. We're really looking forward to reading your applications. We cannot wait to see what you have to say. We've already read through a lot of them, and we're feeling pretty amazing about the candidates that we have right now. Next week, we're going to have something special. It's going to be me and Cesar. I'm going to be in Mexico next week, and Cesar and I are going to get together and do this market rundown together on Monday. So it may be a little later than usual, but it's definitely going to be there. Guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. If you have questions, please reach out to us. Otherwise, guys, I hope that everybody has a wonderful week. And as always, you know that I look forward to catching you on the profitable side.